What's up, everyone? It's the OOTP GM. I want to welcome you all to the 6th episode here of my Detroit Tigers GM Let's Play here on Out of the Park Baseball 18. So we are here at the beginning of the 2017 offseason after a heart-breaking loss in 5 games in the ALDS to the Tampa Bay Rays. If you didn't get a chance to watch the last episode with that series, I'd recommend it. It's very much a roller coaster of a series, lots of high and lows, lots of drama, so kind of spoiled the ending for you there, but it's still worth a watch in my opinion. So we're here at the beginning of the off season for the Tigers, and we had a really good year last year, obviously winning 98 games, making the postseason, but I've had to do a lot of hard thinking about how I want to handle this offseason because I feel like we overachieved winning 98 games, and I don't want to get caught in a position where we're still trying to win with a team that might not be able to do that for much longer. So I've come to the decision that the way I'm going to approach this offseason is I'm going to keep the team mostly intact while making a few shrewd moves and look to try to free up some salary cap space for the future. So before we get into the actual moves, I want to show you guys what happened during the playoffs. And the Los Angeles Dodgers ended up winning the World Series. They ended up sweeping the Cleveland Indians in the World Series. So Cleveland loses the World Series for the second straight year. And the Dodgers were a really good team this year, so it's not surprising that they were able to pull off the win. The other thing that I wanted to mention too real quick is I don't remember if I talked about this in my initial episode, but I added the Korean and Japanese baseball leagues to my playthrough here, so the real players from those leagues can get posted. So these guys here are Japanese players that got posted. The only one of any interest is the second baseman here, but I'm probably not going to do anything with him because his posting fee of $14.5 million is kind of outrageous. And then the Korean baseball players, none of these guys are really worth anything. I looked at them, and nobody really excites me, so we won't be doing anything there. In regards to our own team, Justin Upton picked up his option, so he's locked in for 4 more years. At his $22 million per season. In regards to our guys with team options, Ian Kinsler, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to execute his option of $10 million. The reason I'm going to do that is because he had a pretty good season for us last year, and we don't have anybody really to replace him if we're going to try to have like one more year next year where we try to win before, maybe starting a rebuild in earnest. I feel like he's valuable because he still was a really good second baseman, and if we fall out of contention, he's a valuable trade chip. Anibal Sanchez, on the other hand, we are going to void his option. I'm not going to pay him $16 million. The other big news that we had was Victor Martinez decided to retire. So with him leaving, that opens up the DH spot, and also his $18 million that he had comes off the books, as you'll see here. So his salary comes off the books for next year, and obviously with Sanchez not picking up his option, he's not currently on the books for next year either. So you can see that takes us all the way down to $151 million without re-signing any players that we might want to re-sign, or any free agents or anything like that, or any arbitration cases for that matter. These are based on the arbitration numbers. Now looking at the salaries, if we're going to try to move forward with the team where we want to try to not only contend this year but also prep ourselves for a rebuild, I was looking at this and I was thinking the 3 guys that are going to be on our team at least for the next few years are going to be Cabrera, Upton, and Zimmerman. Obviously Cabrera is too hard to trade. He's still a really good player, so we want to hold on to him. Upton's got 4 years at $22 million, and again, he's going to be kind of hard to move, and he's still relatively young at 30 years old, so I still feel he could provide value for us. And Jordan Zimmerman might be a little bit steep at $24 million, but he was pitching really well for us before he went down with an injury, so I kind of want to give him a chance to come back from his injury and see if he can continue to pitch well, at least for another season before we make a decision what we want to do with him. The one guy that I would look to move would be Justin Verlander. And the reason why is we have 4 starting rotation spots that are set for next year. We've got Jordan Zimmermann, Hyun-Jin Ryu, Michael Fulmer, and Daniel Norris. Those 4 spots are set even without Verlander in the picture. Obviously, he would be the 5th guy. But the reason why I want to look to move Verlander is he only has 2 years left and then a team option in 2020. In real life, it's a vesting option, but in the game, it's a team option. But the reason why I'd look to move Verlander is because try to get some value for him while we can, because if he starts to drop off, his value plummets, and then we're stuck with him at $28 million in a team that's going to need payroll flexibility moving forward to try and pay the guys that we want to build around. Guys like Michael Fulmer, Nick Castellanos is going to be coming up, Daniel Norris. So these guys are going to be hitting arbitration in a couple of years. We need to be able to make sure that we can keep them around and not be caught with these big bloated contracts that are weighing us down. So Verlander's the one guy that I'm going to look to move this off season, and then we will see what happens from there. I'm going to wait and see how arbitration and how free agency starts to play out before I make any moves with him. And the big thing with him is he has his 10-5 rights. So any move that we make with him is going to have to... most of the time, from what I've seen with this game, guys with 10-5 rights do not normally... they don't normally void their 10-5 rights for a trade, even if it means they're going from the worst team in the league to the best team in the league. It's one of the flaws in the game that they still haven't been able to solve yet over the years. So I did a lot of research into this, and I found deals that I feel have historic precedence where if we made a move for Verlander and he's not willing to waive his rights, I feel like we could find trades that, even though I'd have to go into commissioner mode and force the trade through, I feel like it's a fair trade, and under realistic circumstances, Verlander would be willing to accept it. So now that we've got all that out of the way, we'll go ahead and go into the arbitration screen here and see what guys we want to look to re-sign and what guys we're going to let walk. Obviously, Francisco Rodriguez, Anibal Sanchez, I'm going to let both of those guys walk. I'm not going to submit qualifying offers to them because, first off, I don't think Francisco Rodriguez will more than likely accept the qualifying offer, and I don't want to pay him $15 million. He makes me a little bit nervous in regards to the fact that he's 35, and even though his numbers look good last year, I'm just not comfortable paying a guy like him that kind of money. So, and then obviously Sanchez, even though Sanchez had a good year last year, I'm not going to pay him the kind of money that he's going to want. I mean, he's only looking for $1.4 million. So I might consider bringing him back as a reliever. I'm not really sure in that regard. We'll kind of have to wait and see. And then Avila is kind of the same thing. He's just a backup for us. So I might look to bring Avila back. I want to see what he's looking for $7 million. So we're definitely not bringing Avila back. He wants too much money. So Avila will not come back. And none of these guys I'm going to submit a qualifying offer to because I'm not going to pay them $15 million if they do happen to accept it. So I'll just have to risk losing them with no compensation. In regards to the guys up here, Iglesias, I'm not going to bring Iglesias back. Even though his numbers are not bad, his ratings have just plummeted, and I'm not comfortable bringing him back. I am going to bring Romine back because even though he's a one-star player, he does provide value in the fact that he can play so many different positions here. So I want to bring Romine back, and he's comfortable being a bench player, which is good for team chemistry and things like that. So I'm gonna bring him back. I'm gonna offer him 1.5, which is pretty much the arbitration number, but bring him back at 1.5. Castellanos, we obviously want to bring back. He just had a career year. Now he wants a long-term contract, and I am willing to do that for him because he's only 25. This isn't a big long deal. It's 6 years. So what I want to do though is I want to make the last year a team option. So just in case if his numbers start to fall off, we're not going to be in big for him. And I'm going to add a couple $1 million to this so I can kind of soften the blow for these other years. So I added $3 million to that. Take this down to 10, take this down to 10, take this down to 7. And he's willing to accept that deal, so we'll go ahead and do that. So we'll lock him up for a few years. McCann, again, doesn't provide a ton of offensive value, but he is a good defensive catcher, so I want to bring him back, and he's going to be relatively inexpensive. I'll offer him $900,000, and he should be willing to come back on that. Justin Wilson, we obviously want to bring back because I'm planning to potentially have him be our closer next year. So I'm going to offer him $3.25 million. He seems willing to come back on that. Bruce Rondon, he was pitching in the minors last year. I don't want to bring him back. I just don't feel like he provides any value for us anymore. So we are not going to bring Rondon back. We are going to. I might actually look to see if there's any deals out there for him, but I'm definitely not going to re-sign him. Alex Wilson was decent last year in a relief role, so we are going to look to bring him back in the bullpen. I'll offer him 1.7, which is pretty much right on the arbitration number. And he looks like he's happy with that. Shane Green is another guy we are not going to bring back. Numbers just, he wants too big of a raise, and I'm not really comfortable with the numbers that he had, so we're not going to bring him back either. We are going to look to try to improve the bullpen either through trades or through free agency. Now, since I'm not planning to bring Iglesias back, I am going to shop him around and see what kind of deals I can get for him. So we'll go ahead and we will look at that. I want to move forward here just a little bit. Let's go ahead and move forward to the Gold Gloves. I want to move. Oh, these guys got to get moved over. That's right. Once the season's over with, there we go. I want to kind of wait and see. There's the playoffs, as you can see. The Dodgers, once they got past the Mets, they swept the Cubs and they swept the Indians. Indians won 4-1 over the Tampa Bay Rays. So kind of want to wait and see how some of these deals play out. And all right, so most of these guys signed. Romine signed. Wilson, both Wilson signed. Castellanos signs a long-term deal, and McCann signs. So we'll say we read all messages. So that pretty much leaves these guys that we're not planning to sign. So the first thing I'm going to do is Iglesias is the only guy that might have any value on the market. So I kind of want to see what kind of value he has. So I'm going to shop him around here, see what kind of deals we pick up for him. If we can get anything for him, great. If not, it's not a big deal. I'm not super bothered by letting him walk in free agency if we have to. I'm figuring that most of the guys, we're not going to get prospects offered. We're going to get players offered back. If I can get a decent reliever, I'd be okay with that. Most of these deals don't look super exciting. I mean, Brad Ziegler, Tazawa, but I'm sure these guys are making a lot of money. That's probably why they're being offered. Yeah, $5 million for Azawa. His salary jumps to $7 million next year. That's too much. Ziegler's probably the same thing. He's making $7 million. He makes $9 million next year, so we're not going to do that. Most of these other deals don't excite me very much. So it looks like Singleton, he's in AAA, but he doesn't provide much value. So yeah, it doesn't look like there's much out there. What about Drew Hutchinson? He's in arbitration. Bullpen emergency starter. What do his numbers look like? Not terrible numbers. He doesn't have great star ratings, but it might be something. We can at least get some value out of this. So I might actually look to do this deal, get something out of this deal, and then obviously we can always move him, or if he doesn't, if he doesn't work out for us, we can always. Yeah, Avila doesn't like the deal, but let's see if we can get a prospect out of this from the Pirates. Maybe we can get a prospect out of this deal. Cole Tucker, Nick Kingham. We got a lot of relief pitchers. Okay, so here's more of their prospects. Shane Baz. I seriously doubt we're going to be able to get any of these big time players. What about? Yeah, he's probably not. Where am I to include? Oh, okay, so we can. Let's see, Moreno. I'm obviously not going to give him Matt Manning. Yeah, they want some pretty good prospects in return. So looks like it's going to have to be a straight up trade. Iglesias for Hutchinson. I know Avila doesn't like it, but try to get some kind of value for Iglesias. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move Iglesias, and I'm sure that moves Hutchinson into our arbitration window, which it does. And I'm going to, we'll offer him 2.5. and see if he's willing to accept that. And he will. So we get another reliever out of the deal. Like I said, if Hutchinson doesn't work out, it's not a huge deal. I want to get some sort of value in return for Iglesias. These other guys I don't think are going to provide anything. Let's see what Rondon would provide for us. Like I said, I'm not counting on a whole lot, but to see what's out there real quick. Quite a few players are popping up. Okay, Kelly Duggan, Triple M. That might be okay. He's a decent value player. Leon Landry. Some decent guys that would potentially have spots on our major league club next year. They're a little bit older than I would prefer, but they're still decent prospects. A lot of these are all just one-star guys. So let's look at Duggan. Let's see. First base, left and right field. He's pretty much already filled out. He had 234 in AAA last year. Average hitter. Intelligent. Okay. I like that. And who's the other one? It was Leon Landry with the Cincinnati Reds. Okay, he doesn't have quite as much home run power. He's really good in all fields, though. I like that. He plays really good outfield. He played a lot better last. Okay, I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna make the trade for Landry here. He might be 28 years old, but he provides depth for us. Let's see if we can get any other prospects in this deal. They're obviously not going to trade us probably any of their super prospects, but we can certainly try. We definitely could use a first baseman. He's probably not going to. Obviously, they're going to want something. Okay, so we can't even get that to work. What about Tyler Stevenson? I'm sure most of these, yeah, they're going to want super players in return for any of these prospects. Let's move a little bit further down. Is there anybody else down here? What about this 18-year-old starting pitcher? Again, probably not gonna. Okay. No, there's nothing here. So, all right. So we're just gonna do Rondon for Landry. I think that's a okay deal with me. So we're gonna do that. And I think probably what we're gonna do is just go ahead and move forward. And like I said, we'll have to find a backup catcher in free agency, but that's not a big deal. So we'll move forward here to, let's go to the most valuable player, and I can just go through all the different awards. We'll have to wait for Hutchinson to accept or deny his deal. But, it looks like McCann won a gold glove. Hutchinson signed his contract, and yeah, James McCann won a gold glove. So he was our only gold glove award winner. Let's go all the way to the very end here and see who wins the other awards. In order to try and keep this, the episode length for these off seasons down, I'll probably split the off season into a couple of different parts, and we'll go from there. So, all right. So the Edwin Diaz won reliever of the year in the AL. AL Silver Sluggers. Miguel Cabrera won the first base Silver Slugger, and Benintendi won Rookie of the Year. I am not shocked by that at all. Trade. No. I am not going to do that trade. Alright. And let's move forward to most valuable player. Oh, DFA. Oh, Hutchinson. We gotta add him to the active roster. There we go. Alright. And we'll move forward here to the most valuable player. Alright. Team home screen. Mail news. Okay, so Francona won AL Manager of the Year. Chris Archer did win the Cy Young, which is, I believe, what I predicted. Carrasco finished second. Edwin Diaz finished third. And Manny Machado won the MVP. Evan Longoria finished second. Wow. And then Mike Trout finished third. 334, 31 home runs, 100 RBIs for Mr. Machado. And only, wow, he must have missed some time with an injury. So that's still really impressive that he won. And Kershaw won the Cy Young in the NL. And Kershaw won the MVP. Wow. So, well, I mean, he had an amazing season, so that's not a surprise there. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to move forward here to the start of free agency. And I'm going to cut the episode off at the start of free agency. And I'm going to do some stuff off screen, like maybe look for some trades for Verlander, and then when I come back with part 2, we'll do free agency, we'll do the Rule 5 draft, and anything else that needs to be done before heading into the regular season. So I'm going to try to keep it just at 2 parts rather than doing it into 3. I don't want to turn this into a super long episode. So Carlos Gonzalez, free agent, Cueto, Davis, Pineda, Tyson Ross. So there are some decent players. Oh, JD Martinez ended up going into free agency. Wow, okay. So we will so I will end the episode here. Part 2 will kick off here at the beginning of free agency. We'll cover that. We'll cover the winter meetings, the Rule 5 draft. I'll show you guys who I'm going to vote for the Hall of Fame. And I'll take part 2 hopefully all the way up to the beginning of the regular season for next year. And then after that, we will begin the 2018 season, and we will see what happens from there. So I want to thank you guys for watching this episode. Feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment and any feedback that you'd like. And I will see you guys for part 2 of the 2017 offseason. And always, thank you for watching.